All right, let's unpack this. With so much information flooding our feeds every day, how do you actually cut through all that noise? How do you find what truly matters? We're talking global events, major economic shifts, critical security updates, stuff that quietly shapes our daily lives. Welcome to the deep dive. This is your shortcut to really understanding the world around you. We aim for those surprising facts, maybe just enough humor to keep you hooked. Today we're doing a really fascinating deep dive into a daily global intelligence report, specifically the intelligence brief for Wednesday, July 16th, 2025. Now, this incredible report, it comes to us from Nexsight. They're an amazing global intelligence company, really focused on this area. They develop their own open source intelligence platforms, OSINT platforms, to help investigators all around the world. And they provide these incredibly detailed reports, like the one we're looking at, to their customers. If you're curious about, how they gather such comprehensive insights, or you want to see more detailed reports, definitely check out their work. It's at www.next-site.com.
Yeah, and our mission today really is to pull out the most important nuggets of knowledge, the key insights from all this material. We want to give you those aha moments. But without that feeling of being overwhelmed by just tons of data, we'll help you grasp not just what's happening, but crucially the underlying why. Why does it matter in the bigger picture?
Okay, let's jump in. First up, North America. And there's a huge headline right at the top. Trump has apparently issued a 50-day ultimatum to Russia on a Ukraine ceasefire. That's a really tight deadline, isn't it?
It absolutely is. And what's fascinating here, I think, isn't just the ultimatum itself, it's the specific timeline, 50 days. That implies a potential shift, maybe away from open-ended talks towards a hard deadline. It could really change the diplomatic game.
Force some hands, maybe.
Could be. It might create some significant ripple effects on international relations, certainly on the conflict itself.
Okay. And sticking with North America, but shifting gears the economy. U.S. inflation, it's risen to 2.7%, and the report links it to tariff impacts. So what does that 2.7% actually mean for, the everyday consumer? Does it feel different?
Well, yeah. When inflation ticks up like that, especially driven by tariffs, it means things you buy, particularly imported goods. Think electronics, maybe some clothing, certain foods.
Yeah.
They get incrementally more expensive. It's almost like a hidden tax.
Right.
It sort of erodes your purchasing power over time. So maybe that new gadget costs a bit more, your weekly shop just creeps up, but it connects those big trade tensions directly to your wallet.
Got it. So it filters down. We also saw, briefly mentioned, a significant Tesla executive departure happening amid a sales slump. Maybe something to watch there. And also, unfortunately, flash flooding hitting the Northeast U.S., impacting daily life quite significantly. Okay, let's shift south now. South America. A PAO report that's the Pan American Health Organization highlights a significant economic burden from non-communicable diseases, NCDs. That sounds like a really deep long-term challenge.
It truly is. We're talking about things like diabetes, heart disease, chronic conditions. They often require long-term, sometimes expensive care. But beyond the health costs, there's a huge hit to workforce productivity.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So the real insight here is how these chronic conditions become this massive drain on national budgets, yes, but also on human capital. It highlights this crucial, often kind of overlooked economic vulnerability.
So it's a health crisis, but with really profound economic consequences.
Exactly. It underscores how health isn't just medical, it's deeply economic, especially in the long run.
Right. And on a different note, miners have ended blockades in Peru. That sounds like, well, potentially a big deal for the local economy. Stability.
Indeed. What's fascinating here is the resolution. Mining blockades, especially in a place like Peru where mining is so central, can cause major disruption.
Right. Supply chains.
Absolutely. Supply chains, resource extraction itself, even community relations get strained. So ending these blockades signals hopefully a return to some normalcy, maybe averting wider economic fallout.
Good point. We also noted some comments from Bolsonaro regarding his coup trial in Brazil. And on a more positive economic note, a significant tourism surge in the Dominican Republic. So some mixed signals there. Okay, let's cross the Atlantic, Europe. And this jumps out immediately. The EU is preparing retaliatory tariffs on U.S. goods. Here's where it gets really interesting for global trade, isn't it? Transatlantic relations.
Yes, this is significant. It raises a really important question about, well, escalating trade wars, tit-for-tat tariffs. This has the potential to really disrupt those established economic alliances we've seen for decades between the EU and the U.S.
So real risk there.
Definitely. If you connect it to the bigger picture, it's a clear signal of ongoing friction, maybe even a sign of the global trade landscape fracturing a bit.
Wow. Okay. Meanwhile, also in the EU, a Russia sanctions package has stalled.
Mhm.
So what does this tell us? Is it just procedural or is it about unity?
It seems like more than just procedure. What's fascinating here is the internal disagreement it highlights. It indicates the complex challenges the EU faces in maintaining a united front.
Especially on big foreign policy issues.
Exactly. Especially concerning such a significant geopolitical player like Russia. Getting all member states on the same page remains, well, difficult. It shows the internal dynamics at play.
Right. Okay, elsewhere in Europe, Bastille Day celebrations happened amid some tensions in France. And also, the vandals of that iconic UK sycamore gap tree were sentenced. A sort of sad chapter closed there on a prominent environmental crime, but closure nonetheless.
Mm-hmm.
All right, moving over to Asia, big one here. China-Australia trade talks are happening in Beijing. Given their recent history, this feels pretty significant for the region.
It really is. What's potentially fascinating here is the chance for de-escalation. They've had some serious trade disputes impacting Australian exports like wine, barley, coal. So successful talks could start to reshape those supply chains again, commodity markets too. It might smooth out global economic flows a bit if it goes well.
Okay, potential thawing there. And India has ordered a Boeing inspection. What does this signal for, global aviation safety and confidence in the industry?
Well, it certainly raises an important question about regulatory oversight globally,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe more critically, about consumer confidence in major aerospace manufacturers like Boeing, especially in rapidly growing markets like India. Trust in aircraft safety is just paramount. So this kind of order gets noticed.
Yeah, understandably. Also in Asia, we saw Tesla opening a showroom in Mumbai, interesting market expansion. And South Korea unveiled a new stock market roadmap aiming to boost its financial sector. Okay, let's turn to Africa now. South Africa has dissolved its Road Accident Fund Board. What's the potential impact there? It sounds like a critical public service.
It is critical, and what's fascinating here is the potential for significant reform. That fund has faced challenges. Dissolving the board could signal a move towards better governance, maybe more efficiency for accident victims.
There's a what?
Yeah, there's always a but. The immediate term could see disruption. Uncertainty for victims needing support. It really hinges on how quickly and effectively they can stand up a new system. Public accountability, victim support, huge issues.
Definitely one to watch. On a more positive environmental note, also from South Africa, vultures have been released. Sounds niche, but why is that important?
It might sound niche, but it's actually vital. If we connect this to the bigger picture, vultures play a crucial ecological role. They're nature's cleanup crew.
Ah, right.
Yeah, they prevent disease spread, maintain balance. Releasing them highlights important conservation efforts in these biodiversity hotspots. It's a good sign for that ecosystem's health.
Good to hear some positive conservation news. Tragically, though, we also noted reports of Ethiopian gunmen killing civilians and ongoing concerns about Chinese assistance to Mali impacting regional stability.
Yeah.
All right, the Middle East. It remains a constant focal point. Israel striking Syrian forces, Houthi drone attacks on Israel. Here's where it gets really interesting and concerning for regional stability.
Yeah, what's clear here is this ongoing, almost predictable cycle, tit for tat. It indicates a really deeply entrenched conflict dynamic. And the challenge of de-escalation is immense. It raises that crucial question about the broader implications.
Mm-hmm.
The potential for this to spill over into a wider regional conflict is always there.
A dangerous cycle indeed. And relatedly, the Iranian president's injury has now been confirmed. So what does this mean? Political stability in Iran, its regional role.
Well, confirmation introduces uncertainty, doesn't it?
Yeah.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, leadership stability or instability in a key player like Iran, it can have cascading effects. Think global energy markets, diplomatic relations, proxy involvements across the region. Any hint of a power vacuum or shift in Tehran gets watched very closely.
Right. And also from the region, the EU is seeking updates on a Gaza aid deal, highlighting those ongoing, desperate humanitarian concerns. Okay, finally, let's head to Oceania. The Talisman Sabre military exercise has begun. This involves multiple nations, sounds like a significant regional security event.
It absolutely is. What's fascinating here is the emphasis on multilateral defense cooperation, showing unity, practicing interoperability, especially in the Indo-Pacific, which is such a strategically vital part of the world right now, given all the geopolitical dynamics and, frankly, rising tensions. It's about signaling readiness and partnership.
Makes sense. And on the economic front, from down under, there's an Australian consumer sentiment survey out. So what does this kind of survey actually tell us about the economy?
It's a really important indicator. Consumer sentiment, or confidence, it raises a key question about future economic health. Think of it as a leading indicator.
Like a forecast.
Sort of. If people feel confident, they might spend more, invest more. If they're worried, they pull back. So it reflects broader market sentiment, gives clues about potential future trends in retail, housing, etc. A pulse check, really.
Got it. And briefly, we also noted the OFC Futsal Cup has been moved to Fiji, and Vanuatu is undergoing government formation, sort of local administrative and political shifts happening there, too.
Wow, okay, that was quite a journey around the globe today. I mean, from political ultimatums in North America, economic shifts everywhere, to humanitarian challenges, environmental wins across every single continent.
Yeah, this deep dive really shows you, doesn't it, just how interconnected everything is, and honestly, how vital it is to have clear, concise intelligence like this. It helps you quickly grasp these really complex global dynamics. You see the headlines, but this helps you understand the currents underneath.
Absolutely. And again, we have to thank Nextsight for this fascinating dive into global intelligence. Their comprehensive reports provided to their customers are just invaluable. Remember, they're focused on global intelligence, developing their own OSINT platforms to help investigators worldwide. Really cutting-edge stuff. If you want to explore more about how they gather and process this kind of critical information, do check them out. www.next-sight.com. Right. And maybe as we wrap up this intelligence brief for July 16th, 2025, here's something to think about. How might one of the seemingly smaller, maybe more local events we talked about, like, say, the end of those blockades in Peru, or even the release of vultures in South Africa, how could something like that ripple outwards? Could it subtly influence one of the much larger global trends we touched on, like international trade dynamics, or even broader geopolitical stability? Just something to consider.
That's a great thought to end on. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Stay curious, stay informed, and we'll be back soon with more.